The house of our screams.
I loved Sarah more than any woman I had ever known. Her smile made my mind at ease. It made the air taste sweeter. I'd never felt that way before. Within a year of our first date, we were married and ready to begin the great adventure together. I was content with my 2-bedroom apartment in downtown, but Sarah wanted more. She found this amazingly beautiful near mansion in the outskirts of a rural suburb 45 minutes from the city. Honestly, I was surprised there was even electricity this far out into the middle of nowhere. But I set my snobbery aside and we moved out into the country. I didn't mind the commute once I saw that big empty living room that would one day hold our beautiful children. The nightmares started in the first week. I couldn't sleep through the night without these horrible visions of screaming faces and children crying, surrounding me. Eventually, sleep wouldn't come to me at all. I knew it was affecting Sarah, though she was better at keeping her composure than I was. The house needed some work, so I had taken a week off from the office to help out. My wife was gung-ho. She rolled up her sleeves and jumped headfirst into it. Some of the rooms were beautiful, especially after the meticulous paint and wallpaper she had applied, but a few of them upset me. The first bedroom was the absolute worst. I could feel a thick sense of dread when I would walk in, and what's worse is, I could tell it was all focused at Sarah. At night, I would see things coming toward her. I would see a dark figure standing over her bed, but I was powerless to stop him. My fear grew greater and greater, and Sarah was convinced that I was simply overstressed from the move and that I was dreaming. I tried to tell her we should leave until we could figure this out. I begged her to leave. I was terrified for her and for myself. She wouldn't listen. Why wouldn't she listen? On Friday night, I went into town to pick up Chinese food for Sarah. She loved beef chow mein and deserved a reward for all the hard work she'd done on that terrible house. As I was walking to my car outside of the restaurant, I saw the sky turn from a gray shade to an ominous black. Thunder was cracking in the distance, and I drove right into it on the way home. The drive felt like an eternity. The main road was flooded over, so I had to take a dirt road through the country. My 4-wheel drive barely did anything to help. As my truck crawled to a stop in our long, winding dirt driveway, none of the lights were on. I tried not to worry since the storm could easily knock down a power line. I ran to the front porch and fumbled with my keys, trying not to drop the bag of food. The door opened slowly, and it was pitch black. I couldn't see a thing. I put the food down next to the front door and fished my cell phone out of my pocket. I pressed it over and over until it gave off a faint light, just enough to see where I was walking. The flashes of lightning helped me confirm the living room was empty. I continued my way toward the kitchen, waving my phone back and forth, trying to get the smallest bit of detail to show through the pitch-black room. The door opened. I called for Sarah, but I got no answer. I knew there must be a flashlight somewhere in the room, so I headed to the drawers and started digging through them when suddenly, I got a terrible feeling. I can't explain why, but I realized at that moment I knew where she was. The dread filled me from my core and spread out to my extremities. She was in that first bedroom. That terrible bedroom where I heard all those things said to me about her. I begged her not to go into that room. She had to be there. I rushed out of the kitchen with my arm out to keep from walking into any furniture, and I headed to the stairs. As I climbed them slowly, I could see full view of the staircase when the lightning interjected its pale luminance. I reached the top of the stairs and saw the door in front of me. I could tell you for certain with every ounce of my being that she was behind that door. As I opened it, the storm seemed to subside. The room was completely dark as I extended my hand with the cell phone, but it didn't cast much light at all. I took a few steps forward and called her name, but I heard nothing. Suddenly, then at that moment, I heard the loudest crack of thunder in my life. It was as if someone had fired a shotgun beside my head. I jumped and, at that moment, I saw her. As if it were a macabre photograph revealed to me in one brief frame, I saw her lying on the floor. I ran to her side and I held my light out. I could barely make out the detail of her face, but my eyes, they slowly adjusted to the darkness. There was a puddle beneath her. It was paint. White paint that she had used to bring uniformity to all the rooms of the house. As my eyes adjusted to the low light, and I brought the phone closer, I saw it. A strip of red in the puddle. Blood red. It took 6 hours for the storm to finally clear, and the ambulance to arrive. I knew that the house had taken her away from me. But as I sit alone tonight, on a night so much like the night I found her, I finally think to myself about that night, about that house. Why would this happen? How could this happen? I've been so afraid to recount these events, but now, on a stormy night, just like the night I found her, I've truly been able to relive the entire event. But it isn't so clear to me anymore. They all seem so real, yet so distant to me. They haunt me, while at the same time they are blurry and uncertain. A haze hangs over it all, thick and confusing. Then I start to really think. Maybe they were right. The police, the judges, the jury. Maybe they were all right. Maybe I did come home in the rainstorm to find my wife working in the bedroom, laughing with paint stains on her sweater and her jeans. Maybe, as she stood there stretching to the ceiling on her stepladder, I pushed her off, picked it up, folded it, and hit her across the forehead with it. Maybe I did kill my wife. After all, stranger things have happened.